Chris, emergency meeting of DP Review TV. Canon's got a new cinema camera. I want to talk about it. I need you to set up 2 chairs and some lighting. Okay, I'm going to be there in 5.
Welcome back, DP Review TV viewers. It's Chris Nichols here.
And it's Jordan Drake here.
And we just had our briefing on a brand new product now, the Canon EOS R5 C, but we haven't had a chance to get our hands on it. But there's some interesting features here. Now, as far as photo goes, this is basically a Canon EOS R5 with just a few changes. So I think the main changes are video. I'm going to interview you, ask you what you think about this camera.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, the full specs are on dpreview.com, but we're just going to kind of highlight the things that stood out most to us.
Now, Jordan, if you were just to look at the EOS R5 C from the front, you would think, oh, it's the same camera, but with sexy red buttons. But once you turn this camera around, well, how do things change?
Yeah, Chris, as soon as you see this camera from the side, you can tell that it's what we in the industry refer to as a chunky boy. It's quite a bit wider body, and that's to make room for the cooling, which is what was desperately needed in the R5. But otherwise, very similar looking ergonomics on it. But yeah, it is a little bit bigger and a little bit heavier. The interesting thing is what we saw on top of the camera.
Yes, you've got an off switch. You can go to photo or video mode. That's not really revolutionary, but most manufacturers, when you have a dedicated photo and video mode, it will remember settings for video or remember settings for photo, but generally shares the same menus, grays out a bunch of stuff that doesn't pertain. And this is totally different. Hey, Jordan? I mean, photo mode is going to be just like a Canon EOS R5, same menus, but what about video?
Yeah, so if we flip this into video mode, then we're getting the interface and all the menus from the EOS Cinema cameras. So it's going to be a really easy transition if you're coming from some of those other pro video cameras, but also you don't have to kind of hamstring a video interface on top of a photo or vice versa. It really operates as 2 completely separate cameras. I think this is a way smarter way to go about it, but also it means when we're in video mode, we're ditching the histogram. That thing's useless. We are going to get waveforms. We are going to get vector scopes. We are going to get false color. We're getting all of the monitoring tools that professional video cameras have in a compact mirrorless body.
Yeah, I mean, one of your biggest pet peeves on the Canon EOS R5 was, well, first off, you were getting a histogram. You weren't getting anything better than a histogram for video work.
Histogram, which is not the best tool, disappeared as soon as you hit record.
Sure, as did things like the horizon level indicator. So at least now you're getting your high-end forms, but what about leveling? Is that still going to be back?
I mean, we don't know because the C70, their cinema camera, doesn't have a horizon level. I hope they put it in the R5. Again, we haven't got our hands on this camera yet, but that's actually going to be the first thing I'll check when I get this high-end camera.
So we're not really going to talk about photographic stuff today, Jordan, because basically this operates like just a really chunky EOS R5 without IBIS. And when they mentioned that in the briefing that there was no in-body image stabilization, you didn't seem surprised and you didn't flip a table or anything. So what gives there?
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing this a fair amount with some of the higher-end cinema cameras because, yes, IBIS is great if you're just hand-holding the camera, but on a lot of higher-end sets, they've got a lot of ways to control the camera, like gimbals, Steadicams, things like that. And also I'm hearing a lot that when you're mounting these smaller cameras to things like vehicles or crash cams, the vibrations can really screw with the IBIS mechanism. So it kind of makes sense that they took that off. But yeah, it's a real hit if you're planning to use this for photography.
Now, of course, this is the cinema version of the EOS R5, but when you look at a spec list and you see a lot of the recording modes, at first glance, it's pretty similar to the EOS R5. Where are the major differences that we're going to notice?
Well, you're still going to have all the recording modes that we saw in the R5, which was actually pretty comprehensive. There's a few major changes. If you're a professional working with other Canon C-series cameras, they've now given you the XF AVC recording format. So it's just going to work really nicely. You've got the exact same file structure, all the same metadata that we're used to using with those other cameras. Canon's using the new Cinema RAW Lite format from their cinema cameras as opposed to the Canon RAW format that we saw on the R5. Now, we're definitely going to have to test these to see if there's a quality difference, but the quality of the Canon RAW and Canon RAW Lite on the R5 was already excellent. As well, we're now going to be able to record HDR video in both the HDR PQ format from the R5, but also the more commonly used HLG format. But then if you're just looking for great quality and efficient compression, there's all those other standard R5 modes in there as well. Now, I think the really important thing is that through all of those different recording modes, there is no record cutoff. So you're not going to have like that half-hour time limit or anything like that. And that's due to us having the fan in this. And it's kind of nice you have like an auto mode where the fan will be running and then it's going to stop once you're recording so you don't get any fan noise in the take, or you can just have it running continuously on low. So I don't think overheating is going to be an issue. Canon's certainly saying that that won't be a problem, but I'm going to wait until like Dan Watson from Florida or something reports in a hot climate how this camera actually works, but you're going to be a lot less nervous using like high frame rate recording and 8K, the things that really gave the R5 a hard time.
Okay, so let's talk about cables and connectivity. Now, it's a good thing there wasn't a table when we did our briefing, because I'm surprised you didn't toss something, me included, when you heard about HDMI micro coming
Still,
back.
it's a bigger body, and those micro cables, like the ports break all the time, the cables break all the time. This is a professional tool, so you're gonna be monitoring it a lot of the time. And it's a connection, and it's that they put it on this camera. You know, there's some nice stuff. We do now have a time code output.
Right. No gen lock though.
No, it's like a DIN connection. Now, apparently there can be some incompatibilities with some cables, so Canon have some recommended ones. You're going to want to check that out. But it's always nice to have that as an option when you're on set, but nothing like gen lock for synchronization or anything. It really is, you know, the side of an R5.
Yeah, we still get CF Express B type. We still get an SD card slot as well. And, you know, you can mix and match those, can't you? I mean, you can put formats, proxies onto different cards, whatever you want to do.
It sounds like they got a really elegant proxy system, which is brought over from the C70. But then most of the record formats you can send off to SD. Just make sure you got like a V90 type. There are a few like 4K 120, some of the high-speed RAW that we're going to talk about in a little bit. That's going to require a CF Express card.
Now we do have a change on the top of the camera. We've got now the new multi-interface hot shoe, not the older one that you'll find on the EOS R5. So this, of course, will still work with speed lights and Canon accessories, but now it'll also support nice features like the new 4-channel XLR adapter for audio, and this is great. I mean, this is something we take for granted a lot on Panasonic cameras. It's nice to now have the option here on the EOS R5 C. And again, you know, it's funny, Jordan, I mean, Canon normally would make their own product and charge a lot, but they're actually promoting the Tascam unit, which gives you twin XLR and then, of course, TRS 2-channel as well. So really nice unit. It's supposed to be released around the same time, and that I think will definitely be something people want to pick up for this camera.
So one thing I was kind of worried, because we're inheriting so much of the Cinema EOS camera's interface, is how is the autofocus going to be? I actually prefer a lot of the functionality in the stills cameras, but it's really cool. The R5 C is going to get things like the vehicle detect that we first saw in the R3, and it looks like it's still going to do eye detection, head detection, all of that kind of stuff. So that's really nice.
Ooh, now Jordan, another accessory that I'm personally happy they kept, because as a photographer, we've got lots of these. This camera's still using the same LPE6 battery format, so super convenient.
No, Chris, no, it's a bad idea, because these batteries cannot power all the things that the camera is capable of. It can do high-speed RAW recording. Oh, that's super cool. But if you go into those modes and you just have a standard battery in the camera, there's no power going to your lenses, and lenses use electronics to do a lot of the things now, like set your aperture or autofocus or even manual focus on focus-by-wire lenses. This is a nightmare.
Yeah, okay, but, you know, Canon has said you can supplement the power needs of the camera. So you can use their DC coupler if you want. I know you gotta be plugged into a wall. That seems very caveman-like, but you can also use like third-party PD charging battery power banks, like, you know, anything that's 9-volt, 3 amps should basically work.
I'm already confused. I'm drifting already. I want to put a battery in the
plug
camera
a power bank in
and then be able to use.
All right. As passionate as your explanation was, I think the viewers at home might still be confused. So let's play a little game to explain what gear will work with the batteries and what might need supplemental power. Okay, viewers at home, it is time to play our favorite game show, Are You?
When recording high frame rate cinema raw light.
Now on this exciting game, I'm gonna give Jordan Drake a lens type, and he's gonna tell if it's gonna focus and have iris control properly without needing supplemental power, or are you? All right, Jordan Drake, in the hot seat, your first question. If you have manual focus adapted glass, are you?
Chris, I'm thinking about it. I can't think of any situation where I would be if I adapted those lenses. I'm gonna say I'm not.
Correct, you would be able to adjust your focus and your aperture manually. Okay, now, what if you're using cinema lenses?
I mean, cinema, the beauty of it is they're all mechanical. So iris is gonna work, manual focus. But then there's electronic power zoom lenses, but those require external power anyways. I don't think it's the camera's fault. So I'm gonna say cinema lenses adapted, you are not.
Judges? Yeah, you are correct. We're gonna allow it. Okay, well done. You're doing great. Okay. Now, of course, the Canon EOS R5 C uses their RF lens mount. So if you're using RF lenses, are you?
Oh man, I mean, Aperture is controlled electronically. You're on aperture. Manual focus, they're all focused by wire lenses. Most of them even have a custom control ring, and that is also by wire, so you're on every possible situation if you use RF lenses.
Yes, you're all right, and now our grand prize question. Let's say you find yourself in a situation where you are going to adapt older EF style lenses. Jordan, are you
Oh man, okay, so EF lenses, I mean, definitely any of the focus by wire ones like the 85 or the 50, those are out, but most of them have manual helicoids, so you could manually focus even if autofocus doesn't work. But then the apertures are all controlled electronically, so I couldn't set my aperture on any of those lenses unless it was a tilt shift lens.
Now,
and-
Jordan, you seem to be struggling. Do you want to phone a friend? I mean, we could get Tyler Stallman on the line if you want, Eric Naso, or Valentina V. She's a great cinematographer.
No, I don't think I need a friend. It's just, it's hard because there's so many different degrees of being.
Okay. I'm
you
going to
could
need a
be.
final answer now.
I think in most situations, you're
Congratulations, yes, you win. Yes, and your grand prize for winning our show is you might possibly get to review a Canon EOS R5 C if they send us one. So congratulations, our winner here. Okay, so hopefully you guys found that educational. And let me just reiterate, this supplementary power thing, it is inconvenient, but it's only a factor when you're doing high frame rate raw recording. Otherwise, you're fine, you're not. So don't worry about it. Just when you're doing high frame rate raw recording. Regardless, you are probably going to want external battery sources anyway to supplement your power, even just for regular recording. So everything's okay. Everybody's okay. Jordan, you're okay?
Oh, I think I'm okay. That was very intense.
Yes, it was.
And well
Yes.
hosted.
You did well.
Yes. Okay. The other reason that I'm feeling okay is I was expecting this to be a colossal premium over the R5, and it's $600 more than an R5, which is not a cheap camera.
No.
Let's keep that in mind for perspective.
But you're getting a beautiful hybrid camera. I mean, it's basically all the photo capabilities of a Canon EOS R5 with the IBIS lacking, of course, but you have a powerful video and photo camera when you need it.
Yeah, I mean, for someone like me, like I shoot quite a bit of photos, but primarily it's video work. This is a no-brainer. It's just going to be a better camera for me, and I think a lot of other people are going to fall into that exact same situation.
All right, so thank you guys so much for joining us as usual. We appreciate it.
This is a video camera. Can I do the call to action this time?
But Jordan, it's already framed up for me, and like you're gonna need all the time you can get to censor all the that we said in this video.
It would mean a lot for me if I could do the wrap-up. So hopefully you found this video useful, but if you're looking to find out more about the R5 C, don't forget to head over to dpreview.com. They'll have a full breakdown of all the record modes and specs on the new R5 C. We really wanted to just touch on the things we found most interesting today. We would really love to check out both the R5 C and the C70, and you'll want to subscribe if you want to see those episodes. I think it's going to happen. But thank you so much for watching. Be sure to check out our social media. Information is below, and we will see you all again soon for another episode of DP Review TV.